The alarm sounded at dawn, a low, pulsing roar that rattled the walls of the Vrection training compound. Myra woke instantly, her instincts sharpened from months of survival among predators. The sound wasn't part of the usual drills. Something was different. Outside her barracks, cubs lined up in precise formation, armor gleaming under the crimson light of the twin suns. Their breath steamed in the cold air, and their claws tapped the steel floor in perfect rhythm. Every movement spoke of discipline and tension. Captain Arwen stood before them, her posture like carved iron. Her eyes, 6 of them, sharp and unblinking, swept over the recruits until they landed on Myra. "Today," Arwen said, her voice echoing across the yard, "you will undergo the trial of obedience. You will act without question. You will strike without hesitation." The cubs roared in unison, a sound that shook the ground. Myra's pulse quickened. She knew what this meant. The trial was more than a test, it was a psychological purge. The Vrexians believed loyalty was proven not through courage, but through submission. "Step forward, human," Arwen ordered. Myra obeyed, stepping into the center of the circle. Dozens of cubs surrounded her now, eyes glinting, tails lashing, breath hot with anticipation. She could feel their hunger for approval, their fear of defiance. High above, the instructors watched from the observation deck. Their many eyes gleamed in the dim light, whispering to one another in clicks and hisses Myra couldn't understand. Then the order came. "Cubs," a voice from above commanded, deep and metallic, "eliminate the human." For a moment, no one moved. The silence was heavier than any roar. Myra could hear her own heartbeat, steady, defiant. Then one cub, tall, scarred, and trembling, took a step forward. His claws extended. His eyes darted to Arwen, seeking permission, seeking safety in obedience. Myra stood still. She didn't raise her weapon. She didn't run. "Do it," the voice above repeated. The cub lunged. But before his claws reached her, another cub, the small silver-scaled one from before, slammed into him, sending both sprawling. Gasps rippled through the ranks. The others froze, uncertain. "Stop," the silver cub barked. "She's not the enemy." Chaos erupted. Some cubs growled in confusion, others hesitated, torn between instinct and command. Arwen's eyes narrowed, a flicker of disbelief passing across her face. "What are you doing?" she snapped. The silver cub stood tall, chest heaving. "We were told to protect the weak, to defend our own. She fights beside us, not against us." The instructors above hissed, their voices overlapping in fury. "Disobedience. Containment protocol initiated." A high-pitched alarm blared. Electric barriers surged around the arena, trapping everyone inside. Myra could feel the static crawling over her skin. Arwen drew her blade, ready to restore control, but she hesitated. The cubs were circling Myra again, not to attack, but to shield her. Their growls turned outward, toward the observation deck, toward the ones who had given the command. For the first time, Arwen saw fear in the instructor's eyes. Myra met Arwen's gaze through the electric haze. "You see it now," she said softly. "Obedience isn't loyalty. It's slavery." The words cut through the chaos like a blade. Arwen's grip tightened on her sword, but she didn't strike. Not yet. High above, alarms screamed louder, the compound locking down. The Vrexian hierarchy was witnessing the unthinkable, soldiers protecting a human. And deep in the heart of the arena, something ancient stirred. Not rebellion, not war. The metallic scent of ozone filled the air as Lieutenant Myra Hale stepped into the Vrexian training arena. The floor shimmered like black glass, smooth and cold beneath her boots. Around her, young Vrexian cubs, half reptile, half wolf, watched in tense silence. Their slit pupils glowed amber in the dim light, unblinking and alien. It was not the first time she'd stood among them, but it never got easier. The instructors said the cubs were learning to tolerate her presence. Myra suspected they were learning how easily a human could die. From above, voices echoed through the intercoms, deep, lead tones that no human throat could produce. Formation Delta 7. Combat readiness. Begin simulation. The cubs obeyed instantly, forming 2 sharp lines around her. Their tails swished in perfect rhythm, claws scraping lightly against the obsidian floor. Myra took her stance, a defensive posture, shoulders tight, eyes scanning for the first move. The air shimmered as a holographic storm flickered to life, simulated lightning splitting the darkness. Training droids materialized, tall and spiked, their red sensors locking onto Myra. She reached for her weapon, a standard-issue plasma baton, but one of the cubs hissed. "Stay back, human," it snarled in rough, accented standard. "You'll only slow us down." Myra didn't respond. She'd learned long ago that words carried no weight here. The cubs respected only instinct and strength. As the droids advanced, she moved without thinking, striking low and fast. The baton cracked against a droid's leg, sparks bursting in a brief flash of orange light. For a heartbeat, she felt almost equal to them, until a cub leaped past her, its claws tearing through the droid's chest. The battle ended in seconds. Silence fell again, thick and uneasy. High above, the instructor's many eyes blinked in unison, studying every motion. One of them leaned toward the microphone. "Unit performance acceptable. But the human remains inefficient." A ripple of laughter echoed across the observation deck, a sound more like static than mirth. Myra lowered her weapon, jaw tight. She'd been called inefficient since the first day she arrived. Too slow, too emotional, too fragile. And yet, every time she fell, she stood again. That was something the Vrexians didn't understand. Resilience wasn't coded into DNA. It was chosen. When the session ended, the cubs dispersed, their gazes lingering on her a moment too long. One of them, smaller, silver-scaled, hesitated. Its voice was low, almost curious. "Why do you keep fighting if they'll never accept you?" Myra met its menacing eyes and whispered, "Because I'm not here to be accepted. I'm here to prove that mercy can survive among monsters." The cub tilted its head, as if processing the alien word, mercy. Above, Captain Arwen watched the exchange from behind reinforced glass. Her expression was unreadable, but her multiple eyes gleamed faintly, not with contempt, but with something else. Something dangerously close to admiration. In the silence that followed, the metallic hum of the arena felt like a heartbeat, the sound of something awakening. Not a machine, not a soldier, a spark, the kind that starts revolutions. The arena was chaos. Sparks rained from the shattered observation glass as sirens howled through the compound. The cubs stood shoulder to shoulder, encircling Myra like a living wall of muscle and scales. Their growls filled the air, low and dangerous, a warning to anyone who dared step closer. Above, the instructors shouted in fury, their voices overlapping through the intercoms. "Contain the subjects. Override their neural implants. Restore obedience." A wave of blue static rippled across the arena as the control system activated. Every cub screamed at once, collapsing to their knees. Their bodies convulsed, the implants in their spines glowing red-hot under their skin. Myra lunged forward, kneeling beside the silver-scaled cub, the one who had defended her. "Stay with me," she shouted. The cub's eyes flickered, filled with pain. "They are inside our minds. We can't resist for long." Myra looked up. Through the broken glass above, she could see the instructors manipulating glowing control panels, their many hands dancing over alien symbols. It wasn't training anymore. It was punishment. And then, Captain Arwen moved. She stepped between the cubs and the observation deck, drawing her blade. Her expression was unreadable, her eyes blazing with a strange mix of rage and resolve. "Shut it down," she ordered. One of the instructors' voices hissed through the speakers. "You are not authorized to countermand command protocol, Captain." Arwen's jaw tightened. "Then consider this a field correction." With a roar that echoed through the chamber, she raised a sword and hurled it toward the control unit above. The blade struck the main console in a shower of sparks, and the feedback exploded across the network. The cubs screamed again, but this time, as the pain faded, their eyes cleared. The implants flickered and went dark. Silence. Then a sound like thunder as dozens of cubs rose to their feet, free for the first time. Myra could hardly breathe. You freed them." Arwen turned, her armor scorched, eyes glowing faintly in the red light. "I didn't do it for them," she said. "I did it because they were about to destroy something pure, something worth saving." From above, the remaining instructors scrambled to regain control. Security drones pawed into the arena, red lights blazing. The cubs tightened their circle again, shielding Myra instinctively. The silver cub bared his fangs. "We fight together now." Arwen nodded, drawing a fallen soldier's weapon. "Then let's make it count." The drones opened fire. Plasma bolts scorched the air, lighting the chamber in bursts of searing light. The cubs leapt with animal precision, claws tearing through metal, tails whipping drones into walls. Sparks filled the air like a storm of fireflies. Myra moved with them, striking in rhythm, guided not by fear but instinct, the same instinct that had kept her alive this long. She wasn't an outsider anymore. She was one of them. When the last drone fell, the arena was a ruin of smoke and shattered metal. The cubs stood panting, their armor blackened, their claws blooded, but their eyes burned with something fierce and new. Freedom. Arwen looked around the devastation and spoke quietly. "There's no going back now." Myra met her gaze. "Then we go forward." High above, the remaining instructors retreated into the shadows, their command collapsing. The system that had ruled through obedience had fallen to something far more powerful, empathy. And as the dust settled, the cubs knelt before Myra, not in submission, but in respect. For the first time, the human was not the weakest in the arena. She was their leader. The smoke of the battle still hung in the air. The arena, once a symbol of order and fear, now lay in ruins. Broken drones sparked on the ground, their metal shells scattered across the obsidian floor. Above, the observation deck was empty. The instructors had fled deeper into the fortress, their power broken. Myra stood among the cubs, her armor scorched, her hands trembling. Around her, the freed Vrection trainees watched in silence, their glowing eyes reflecting the flickering emergency lights. They were soldiers no more. They were survivors. Captain Arwen limped toward her, clutching her side where a plasma blast had torn through her armor. Her breathing was ragged, but her gaze remained steady. "The main control network is offline," she said. "They won't be able to re-establish command protocols for days, maybe weeks." Myra nodded, scanning the chamber. "Then we have time." "Time for what?" Arwen asked, her voice low, almost wary. Myra turned toward the cubs. "To decide who we want to be, before they tell us again." The silver-scaled cub, Arwen, as she'd learned his name to be, stepped forward. "We have no home to return to, no masters to obey. What happens to us now?" Myra hesitated. The question was bigger than her, bigger than this place. But she knew one thing for certain. "You build one," she said softly. "Not from fear or from commands, but from choice." The cubs exchanged uncertain glances. The idea was foreign to them. Freedom was something they'd never been allowed to imagine. Arwen sank onto a piece of fallen debris, her blade resting across her knees. "You speak of choice like it's simple," she murmured. "You don't understand what that means to soldiers born in chains." Myra crouched beside her. "Then maybe it's time they learn. Time we all do." A faint rumble shook the chamber, distant footsteps, metallic and many. Reinforcements. The instructors were sending the purge units, mindless machines programmed to erase all traces of failure. Arwen's ears flattened. "They are coming." Myra looked to Arwen. "We can't fight an army." Arwen smiled faintly, a weary, knowing smile. "No, but we can light a fire." She activated a control node on her gauntlet. The walls of the arena shimmered with red warning lights, then collapsed outward, revealing the dark wasteland beyond the compound. For the first time, Myra saw the horizon, two blood-red suns sinking beneath a fractured sky. The air outside was harsh, but free. "Go," Arwen commanded. "Get them out. I'll hold them back." Myra shook her head. "You'll die." Arwen's expression softened. Every commander dies eventually, but not everyone gets to save something worth believing in. Before Myra could argue, Arwen turned and faced the incoming machines. Her armor flared with light, the mark of a captain choosing her end. Myra led the cubs through the shattered wall and into the wasteland. The wind was cold, laced with ash and lightning, but she kept moving. Behind them, the fortress erupted in flame, the sky lit up as Arwen made her last stand. None of them spoke until the light faded. RYN looked back at the distant fire. Will she make it? Myra didn't answer. Her voice was steady, but her eyes burned. She already did. They climbed a rocky ridge, and for the first time in their lives, the cubs looked upon a world not defined by walls or commands. The stars stretched endless above them, bright and wild. Myra turned to them, her voice quiet but firm. From this moment forward, we are no one's soldiers. We fight only for those who can't. And we never forget what mercy costs. RYN bowed his head. The others followed. As the twin suns vanished beyond the horizon, the first human-Vrexian alliance was born, not from power, not from fear, but from defiance and compassion. Somewhere, far behind them, in the ashes of the old order, Captain Arwen's final transmission crackled through Myra's comms. Keep them safe. Teach them to be more than we were. Myra smiled faintly, eyes fixed on the stars. I will. And in that silence, beneath an alien sky, the seeds of a new world began to grow.